Hey everybody, Adrian here live midday on the Where Am I Right Now Life Mastery Show. So welcome, and what we're going to be doing here today again is answering some of your questions, all to do with life mastery. So if you have a question around your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, or any other aspect of your being to ask here today on the show, then please do feel free to type it up and I will answer any comments I see here on the screen. So a good way to do that for me to test the process is just to say hi, hello Adrian, so that I can see you actually coming up on my screen and I can see some messages popping up. That'll really help me. So absolutely fantastic to be here, and I really hope this is an engaging show today. What I want to bring for you today, a lot of it is about how do we manifest things in our life. How do we bring the manifestation process into our life and really hone in and tune in on those things we really want to have in our life, from the physical, the emotional, mental, the material, all those aspects. What is it we want in our life, and how do we support ourselves to actually try and bring those in a little bit? So let's have a look, see if there's any comments coming up on here. So if you have a comment, if you can just say hello to me, that will be absolutely fantastic. And then I'll know there's actually some comments coming up on the screen, because I'm using this live on my phone today. And as with all things technology, I really like to get things clear on here. So let's have a little bit of a look and see if we can get any messages. Hey, we've got some messages coming up on here. Fantastic. Did your work improve? Hi, hello, yeah, and hi to you too. Thank you for tuning in and checking in and getting me live on here. So what I want to do is just a bit of an introduction about Adrian, a little bit about myself, just so that we can get a connection and so you can get an understanding of who you're listening to, who you're watching, and who you're potentially working with. So my name's Adrian. I am 55 and I live on the Gold Coast in Australia. Been here for a few months now after moving from Sydney and living there. And I'm married. I've got a blended family of 6 adult children. And some of my passions in life are playing the didge. I love to write. I love to travel. And more than anything, I really love to help people get back on track or get on track in their life. It's an absolute thing I love doing. And I'm really passionate about it and work with it every day. And for me, it's all about the life mastery. How do we bring more life mastery into our lives? What do we have to do to get really clear on the pathway forward and to manifest that and bring that into our lives? So this is what I want to work with today. Just a couple of things with me. I'm an author. I've got a book called Where Am I Right Now that's actually about to be republished in the next edition. I also love taking people on journeys, and one of the journeys I do is take people on these incredible trips to Africa, and I've got another one coming up in August. So if any of you out there want to go and do a 21-day journey into South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, then you can come and join me for the 21-day journey. Just check it out on my website. There's lots and lots and lots going on. A couple of other things I do. I'm a partner and investor in a great company called Skyway, and actually I'm heading over to Belarus next Thursday. So next Thursday I'll be coming live from Sydney Airport with this show, because that's where I'll be at midday next week on my way to Belarus for a week. So I'm going over there to do some special training with the CEO of Skyway. The companies there are all about helping people to get educational freedom and financial freedom in their life. So it's a great thing. A couple of other things I love doing. I love playing the didge, and I'll be playing a bit later. And something to help you is jump onto my website, adrianhanks.com, and you can download the free version of this journal. That is one of the great resources and supports that I have for people. And if you have a look on here, I've got the 10 different life aspects that I work with. And it's a great way to evaluate where you are right now in your life and do some great work to help you to bring more life mastery into your life. So that's a little bit about Adrian, and this now is all about you. So if you have a question, so once again to reiterate, I'm not doing the psychic work. I may use some intuitive work, but I'm not doing any psychic readings on this show today. And this is purely about giving you some empowerment tools and resources to bring your life more into alignment with where you are and where you want to be. So any questions on life mastery, please do put them up on the screen right now, and I will do my best to answer them. So I'm just going to sit and wait and see if there's a pop-up. I've got a hi, and a hello. So let's see if we can have any questions coming up on the screen for anybody. If not, I can chit and chat and give you some great resources and tools anyway, but it's nice to be direct with people tuning in, asking questions. So just while I'm waiting for those questions to pop up, a little bit about the life mastery work that I do. I do it in several ways. I do lots of one-on-one work, also do couples coaching work as well, but I also have some great programs that I run with groups. One of those groups is a mastermind program, and I currently have a group running that started in January. So we've been going for a few months now. We meet live every fortnight online with the group. A group are all from around Australia, and we meet for an hour and a half, and we really get into that mastermind process. I facilitate the group onto bringing more connection with each other and really getting them to get clear on what it is they want to bring in their life. So it's a really powerful group, and I've got another group that I'll be starting in June, on June the 18th. So if you're looking for a mastermind group to join for 6 months, that's an opportunity. The other thing to check out is my life mastery program. So there's a combination of online videos, one-on-one work with me, and also some group work every week as well. So there's several things to do there. As I also do the travel as well over to Africa. So tuning in, checking in, adrianhanks.com is the website to go to. And you can also go there and book in for your free 30-minute consultation with me to ascertain where you are right now in your life and how I might be able to support you in going forward. So any questions out there? Any from you, Will, Tracy, anybody? There's a couple of names I can see up on the screen. I can see some thumbs floating through the screen and a couple of love hearts floating through the screen. But it'd be lovely to have a question to tick us off for today. So who's the first one up with a question for today in all things life mastery? Let's see if we can have a question. Or maybe I will ask a question to you to start with. So the question I have for you is, where are you right now in your life? Physically, to start with, then emotionally, then mentally, and then spiritually. So just take a moment to ask yourself that question. Where am I right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? And where do you know you're on track? Where do you know you're in alignment? And where do you get a sense of you're not in alignment? And if it's around the physical, what did you do today to be physical? Did you have a really good, healthy breakfast? If you're in Australia, obviously, it might be supper time or so. If you're somewhere else in the world, did you do your yoga? Did you do your gym? Did you go for a run? Did you do your stretching? Are you really conscious of what you're eating and drinking? Are you really conscious on the things you're taking in your life? The medication you're taking, whether allopathic or not. Are you really clear about the physical aspect of your being? And are you in that 80-20 principle or 90-10 principle from the physical perspective? Are you really looking after your body? Okay, here, Marlene. How often should you cleanse your stones and crystals? That's a really, really good question, because a lot of people use the crystals and stones in their homes. I do like to keep the crystals and things clean. Depends how you're using them. If you're using them on people's bodies and things for healing, I suggest they probably need a cleanse or a clean every time you use them in that process, so they're not carrying other people, other things' energy. If they're in your home, I'd say put them in warm. I like warm soapy water when I'm polishing and cleaning my crystals. So I usually fill the basin up, put some hot water in there with some suds, put all my crystals and stones and give them a good wash. Probably, depending how they use it, if they're just in the home and you want to keep them clean and energized, I would suggest just doing that every few months. Depends, but if you're using them for healing, I'd suggest you probably do it after each session. You might want to cleanse and clean them after healing sessions. That will be my take. If I'm doing some healing, if I'm running a workshop or so and there's a space I'm running, I like to clear the energy in the room. And if I'm using anything like crystals, I do like to clean them up. Same as my didgeridoo, I do a lot of detailing on my didge, and I like to cleanse it afterwards with warm water and some tea tree oil or something like that. It's really important to keep the energy flow clean. So yeah, tune into that, Marlene, and just if they haven't been clean for a while, I suggest clean them up with some nice soapy hot water and get them buzzing again. Tracy, any specific direction to place the bed to assist my optimum? Yes, Tracy, good question. So I don't do, I'm not going to tune in from a psychic perspective, but from a purely practical perspective. When people set up their homes, and we do it in this home, we've just moved up here 3 months ago from Sydney to the Gold Coast. We set up a home from an energetic perspective, and we look at where are the energy flow lines, where are the banker lines, where are all the underlined streams, where are all the ley lines, where are all the different things coming through the home, because you don't want to be putting your bed on a negative energy line. It needs to be on a positive. And a lot of people have trouble sleeping because their bed is actually on a point where there's a couple of energy flows crossing, or they might be on a flow that's not very positive, like brackish water underneath the home will stop you. Could be a crossing of the different energy frequency lines. So always checking out where that bed goes, and also whereabouts in the room, like check it out. You can either dowse for that, let me just grab something here. So you can dowse, you've got the little pendulums. You can muscle testing, or if you want to get something more specific on the home clearing, then do contact me and we can do something together. I can certainly pass you over to my beautiful wife Arlene, who specializes in working with the energy flows of homes and how to create that energy flow. What we have in our home, we have lots of energy frequency cards, and I'll just give you an example of one here. So a good question, and I actually had a card I figured this morning it might be a question about one of the energy flow cards. So we have lots of energy frequency cards placed around the house to help to maintain a positive balance of energy. And one of those is about how we sleep. So if there's a negative energy flow, it can be counteracted by placing this energy frequency card on there to negate that negative energy. So a really good question, Tracy. Thank you for that. Really, really, really good question, because the bed, if it's in the wrong place, your sleep will be affected. Or if it is in the wrong place, at least you can counteract it with putting some energy frequency card in the place to negate that for you as well. Really, really important to get really good night's sleep, and I certainly do. I love my sleep. So thank you. So yeah, Marlene, yeah, thank you for the question, and I hope that helps with the energy crystal cleaning. Thanks heaps. I'll pull my pendulum out to check. Very informative. Yeah, check it with a pendulum. Just check energetically what needs to happen. Do you need to get an energy frequency card, Tracy? What sort of energy flows is it on? Is it on a some sort of frequency line that's not positive for you? And oftentimes people say, if you've got a cat and it's asleep somewhere, it's usually they love that negative energy flow. So if the cat's on your bed a lot, it might mean that the bed is actually on a negative energy flow, because cats somehow seem to love to sleep in that energy. I don't know quite what it is, whether they're trying to change it or soak it up, I'm not quite sure, but that's often something said, is look for where the cat is sleeping, and that's probably a bit of a negative portal rather than a positive one. So dogs are a little bit different, and of course humans are as well. But you'll feel it. Check it out, Tracy. And if you need any support, please contact me and I can put you in touch with my beautiful wife, Arlene. So any other questions out there for anybody in terms of all things life mastery? Great questions already. Well, the questions on cleaning crystals, and we've also had the question on the energy flow of the bed and where it's placed. So any more questions, keep them flowing, and we'll see what we can do in terms of answering them for you. Hey, how is the best way to really get back negative energy? Okay, so following on from what I just said, Vicky, I just shared about what you can do to get rid of negative energy. Firstly, get a sense of what the negative energy is, so you can really name it. Because there's tons of different types of energy, there's thousands, millions, energy is everywhere. So first defining what that negative energy is for you. How was it created? How was it put there? And actually, what is it? And if you can name it, then of course you can deal with it. But if you can't name it, can't ascertain what it is, it's very hard to deal with. So you might feel that energy. You might get a sense of it in your body. Yeah, so whatever that is, get clear on what the negative energy is. And then there's a few ways to do it, depending on what it is. One way is to use energy frequency cards and negate that energy. Other times you can do some cleansing, you can do some smudging, you can do some chanting. You can simply get really clear on telling whatever that negative energy is to leave, particularly if it's a being, if you like, a spirit being, or a frequency of something that's past, for instance. It could be somebody that's trapped in the soul and haven't moved on. It could be the negative energy of where the house has been built, like I've just explained about the bed. It could be that the house might be on a negative energy flow. It could be on brackish water. It could be on a cross point of two energy flows. So then you probably need a bit more specific support on that, and you might need to get some energy frequency cards on that to actually help you to change that. So I'd say, Vicky, get clear on what that is first. If you need some support on that, please contact me and I can help you to find out what that actually is. You might be able to muscle test it or pendulum it, or get a professional in to really support you in that. And yeah, hi Pat, good morrow to you too. So I hope that helps you, Vicky. And if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that question, feel free to elaborate too. The clearer you are with your questions, the clearer I can be with supporting you with the answers. And that's always a good thing to do, is to get clear on the question. So thank you, Vicky. So any other questions out there for anybody in terms of all things life mastery? And just remembering, I'm not doing any psychic readings here today. This is purely about really getting you into your power and really bringing the life mastery into your life. So I talked a little bit about getting physical. Yeah, where are you right now? So the next question is, where are you emotionally? And are you really clear on how you're dealing with your life emotionally? Or do you need some support? Are you a bit out of track on that? So that's a really good question to ask yourself. Where am I right now emotionally? And do I need some support? Yeah, pleasure, Vicky. Thank you too. And then mentally, what are you doing mentally? Are you in a process of study? Are you really clear on your mental faculties of the way you communicate? Are you really clear in your thinking? Because, mental health, we talk about mental health and being clear mentally. And unfortunately, with the system we live in, people don't really talk much out beyond the mental health system. They don't talk about spiritual health, very rarely emotional health. Sometimes it's talked about physical health, but really we're caught up in the mental health system. And I say to people, get clear on your mental health. What are you doing to keep it sharp? Are you really clear? You've got clarity in your life. Are you studying? Are you writing? Are you journaling? Keeping that journal going. Are you doing some clear mind meditations? One of the biggest things I'd love to bring in into the mental health system is just to teach people to meditate. Mindfulness meditation. Some people are bringing it in. It's slow, but there's some great workers out there slowly bringing it in. But as a standalone, like meditation is one of the keys for me for clear mental health. Study, clear mental health, clarity of thinking. So that's, where am I right now mentally? A good question to ask yourself. And if you're not clear, if you're a bit foggy, if you're not quite sure where you're going in life from a mental perspective, then it might be time to get some support. And if I'm the person to give you that support, all you have to do is contact me, and you can do that by going to adrianhanks.com. And you can actually book in for your free 30-minute consultation if you feel like it. So it'll be good to connect with you. Hi, Pat. I am in a repacking phase, finding a new level of expression, being investigating usually across all areas. Yeah, new levels of expression. What a great statement, Pat, for you. You might want to elaborate. You may have a question around that even. I've made an apt. Thank you. So, yeah, the new level of expression. And I say to people, every day we should be aiming for a new level of something. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in communication, in expression. And what does that look like? But the first thing is to ascertain where it's not actually happening. Because if we want to move on and grow, sometimes we have to name what isn't happening. And that's why I love the process of where am I right now? So where am I, for everybody listening in, because Pat's mentioned this, so where am I right now in terms of my expression? In terms of my expression, do I express myself well? Do I express myself clearly? Do I know what I want to express? Do I have fears around expression? Do I have doubt around expression? So get really clear on where am I right now in terms of my expression. Am I blocked in my expression? Am I okay to stand and be clear in my expression? Yep. So Pat says she's in a process of synthesis. Yep, it's forever a process of synthesis, isn't it? It's just continual every single day. And then we pick on a topic or an aspect like expression. It's one thing of the many aspects that we have in our life. And for some time, we sometimes have to tune into that one thing to get it clear for ourselves. So the question for everybody is, how are you expressing yourself? Particularly in relationships, partnerships. Can you really get clear on that? Yeah, hugely challenging, but managed giving it language in the last 3 weeks. Well done, a good 3-week process for you, Pat. And yeah, get really clear on what that expression is. Maybe take some time to write it down. What do I need to express more clearly in my life? In other words, where am I a little bit stuck? Where am I a little bit blocked? Where do I need to upskill in terms of doing better expression? Yep, and then the courage to go to the market with it. Yep, working very intuitively. Yeah, and intuition's a great thing to work. I love to work cognitively and intuitively and bring those together whenever they're needed. And courage is a big thing. And I find that the only way to break through courage is to actually take action. It's the antidote for fear, yep, is to get some courage, to move forward and to actually do it. So well done to you, Pat. So the other question I'd ask people to ask themselves, we've done the physical, the emotional, the mental, and then where am I right spiritually? Where am I right now spiritually? Because I meet, even on this show, there's lots of people tuning in, lots of people listening to the recordings, and Sarah's done a great job with the spiritual directory. So this is a spiritual community that I'm actually communicating with now. But what I found of, particularly in the New Age spiritual world, is people get a sense that they're spiritual. Yeah. And then I ask them a simple question. What's your spiritual path? What's your spiritual path? What are your daily spiritual practices? What are you actually doing to be spiritual? How are you communicating with others? How are you treating others? Yeah. It's a really good question. Where am I right now spiritually? And I say to people, find a path. Find something to study. Find a spiritual journey for yourself where it deepens every single day. Understand the text. Understand the things that path brings in for you. Because when you get the guidance in spirituality, when you get some guidance, when you get that teacher, when you get that mentor, when you get that group, you can go deeper on the process. Because spirituality isn't just some arbitrary thing. For me, it's a study. It's something to really understand. And I liken it a little bit to the ocean. Yeah. So we have the ocean, and we can walk on the sand and we can get our feet wet, or we can go up to our knees, we can go up to our waist, or we can actually dive in and swim. And then we can take it to the next level where we actually go underwater. And you can only stay underwater for a certain amount of time and go to a certain depth. And then we can get the snorkel, and we can snorkel underwater. Yep, and we go down a little bit and we get a nice view down there. And then take it to the next level, you can scuba dive and go to another level. Yep, and if you want to, you can go to another level and get a submarine. And if we reverse that in terms of spiritual work, we can put our toe in the water. We can go up to our waist in spiritual understanding. We can immerse ourselves fully in it. Yeah, and we can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. But you wouldn't go scuba diving without the training. You just wouldn't go deep without the training, without the understanding of what you're using. And I say it's the same for spirituality. If you dabble, you dabble a little bit. If you want to go deep in there, you have to have the tools, you have to have the resources, you have to have the training to go there. You have to have the training to go there. Because once you get out of the ego and get out of the 3D human world and cross over that threshold into the spiritual world, you have to go in there with understanding and knowledge and wisdom. You have to know what you're doing. It's like, if you get in a car, you don't just jump in a car without doing your R plates and your P plates and doing some experience on the road. And it's the same with crossing over the threshold. I see and hear and experience and meet people who get taken over, or they leap over, or they're pushed over into the spiritual world, and then they flip. Our psych wards are full of people who've had spiritual experiences, and they don't have the teachers or the people or the mentors to go to explain what happened to them. They just get usually medicated by a doctor who doesn't understand the spiritual world, and they end up in a psych unit, sometimes for life, because they've had a spiritual awakening too fast, too soon. Whether that's drug induced or whether it was just an awakening. So I appeal to people all the time, please, if you're going to do spiritual work, do it cautiously, with a trainer, with a teacher, with people you trust, to go over that threshold. Because it's just like diving in the water. You wouldn't do it unless you're training, if you're scuba diving. So I really want to reiterate that. So where am I right now spiritually? How far over the threshold do I allow myself to go? Can I go safely? Because it's a big old world, that spiritual world. And once we're over that threshold, it's a very challenging place. There's lots of things that one can meet out there. And if we don't understand it, it's really, really scary. There's a lot of things in there that would scare people, to death, or scare them to be in a psych unit because they have a flip out in the mind. So, that's my analogy. Tracy, I think is a good analogy too, the under the water in the spiritual world. And just for some background on myself, to give it some context, I've been studying my path of spirituality called anthroposophy, which is a work of Rudolf Steiner and others. And I've been following this path now for 25 years, so nearly half of my life, and doing some very, very deep work. I belong to a spiritual group that I've been in for about 15 years, and we do work. I do work daily. I read my texts, I do my meditations, I'm constantly reading the work of Steiner and anthroposophy, and the Rosicrucian stream is what I follow. And I've written papers, I've written my book that obviously has a lot of the anthroposophical work in it as well. So it's about having the knowledge. And a great way to know you have the knowledge is to write about it. If you have a spiritual path, can you write about it? If you have a spiritual experience, can you write about it in context with meaning, so that when people read it, it actually makes sense? That's always a litmus test for me. If I'm going to do any spiritual work with anybody, I need to know that they know. And I often say, let's spend half an hour and you tell me about your experiences and let's check it out. Because I don't want to be guided over the threshold by somebody who, one, hasn't been there, and two, doesn't understand it, and three, is not safe to take one there. In the old days, they used to be called hierophants. People would be taken over the spiritual realm by a hierophant who would guide them in and out, almost like sending a kite into the sky and then reel them back in again. And that's the real way to do spiritual work if you're going to guide somebody, is to be with them on the journey in and out. It's not a case of giving them some weekend drug and saying off you go and go into the spiritual world. That's I think it's, people who do that, from my perspective, this is purely mine, anybody that calls themselves a spiritual teacher or a shaman that's giving people a substance or taking them into the spiritual world when they have not had a minimum of 2 years training, I think is not healthy. In fact, they're not shamans, because no shaman in his right mind, no teacher in his right mind would take an initiate into that space without a minimum of probably 1 or 2 years training. That's absolutely how I feel about it. So I think it's really important to be cautious with people. So anyway, I'm talking of where am I right now spiritually, but I just wanted to bring that caution in, because we are working within this spiritual community, and there's a lot of people out there who talk about spirituality, and it's about how do we gain more spirituality and bring that into our lives. So any more questions to bring in, particularly maybe around that spiritual component, that spiritual world of where you are right now, and how I may be able to assist you in that if you have a question. So pop on the questions on the screen and let's see where we go from there. Meanwhile, Adrian will have a sip of his lovely tea. Okay, just while I'm waiting for a question to pop up on the screen, I can talk forever, so that's not a problem. I can always fill the space if questions aren't coming up. But if you do have a question, on where you are right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in your relationship, sexually, intimacy, socially, or any other aspect, then please pop that question on the screen and I will see what I can do to help answer that for you. Meanwhile, yeah, pop along to adrianhanks.com and you can book in for your free 30-minute consultation with me if you'd like to as well. So one thing I'd like to share a little bit is, if I can grab it here, is the book I wrote. I just spoke before about being an authority in something, and I wrote this book, and this is about to be republished here. And I have lots of different aspects in the book. I have lots of different aspects in the book about how to bring life mastery into one's life. So where am I right now is the name of the book, and I'm just going to open this up and actually talk about one thing, and that's about creating healthy boundaries. Because if we're going to do spiritual work, if we're going to do mindset work, if we're going to do healthy living work, if we're going to do life mastery work, one of the key components is about having a healthy boundary, particularly around the spiritual work. Somebody asked the question before about negative energies in the home. Well, if you're in that home, the question for me is, how did the negative energy get in? Because there's a great story, and I share this a lot. You may have heard me speak before on this if you've listened into the show before. And there's a great story called The Three Little Pigs. And they talk about the three little pigs and the wolf. And if you take the story from a spiritual teaching perspective of those three pigs, the body, mind and soul or spirit, what they do, they have to build a stronger house to stop that negative force coming in, stop that wolf coming in. And they do. Eventually, they go from straw to sticks to bricks, and they create a solid place, a solid home where they can lock the door and not let that negative energy in. So they combine the physical, the emotional and the spiritual combined to stop that. They form a healthy boundary. So in this work, it's really good to get a healthy boundary so that if those spirits are around and you don't want them in your body or in your home or in your environment, you can actually create that positive, powerful energy to stop that actually coming in. So boundaries are really, 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 really important in this work. So there's another question for you. Where am I right now in my healthy boundaries? It's a really good question to have. So any questions out there? It's a little bit light on with questions today. Last week I couldn't keep up with the speed of the questions coming in on here. So if there's any questions coming in, yeah, Pat, healthy boundaries, absolutely so important. Pleasure, Karen. Sometimes it is, and it's sometimes just hearing something just sets us up again. It gets us back on track. It gets us in motion again. It gets us in motion. I say never underestimate what you say or share with people from the positive, inspirational perspective, because that one thing can just be the thing that gets them going for the day. And it leads them to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Oh. Is my love life improving? Cynthia, I don't know. I don't know. It'd be the question to ask yourself, wouldn't it? Where am I right now in my love life? Where am I right now in my love life? And getting clear on the question. And asking yourself, what do I want to improve? What do I want to improve in my love life? What do I want to improve? Really good question. So I always start with a question. Yeah, hi Nathan, great to have you watching in. So just answering the question here from Cynthia, is my love life improving? It depends on where you are right now and what it is you want to achieve in your love life. What's missing? What's not being created? Where are you with your partner? Maybe you don't have a partner. Maybe that's the beginning of visualizing the partner. There's a great piece of prose called The Invitation, and it's by Uriah Mountain Dreamer. And she speaks about the partner that she wants. And she's written this beautiful piece of prose. If you Google it, Oriah Mountain Dreamer, O-R-I-A-H, Oriah Mountain Dreamer, The Invitation. And when I first met my wife Arlene, we've been together now 15, 16 years, unbeknownst to both of us, we both had a copy of that piece of prose on our walls because we both just finished a long-term relationship and we were looking for something new, and we read that. And in our wedding vows, we got married in Cape Town, in our wedding vows we actually read a line of the piece of prose of The Invitation to each other as part of our wedding vows. Very, 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 very powerful. So we connected and we got clear on what it was we wanted in our relationship. So I'd say that'll be the first step for you. Cynthia, is my love life improving? Where do you want it to improve? What do you need to do to improve it? Because I said before, I'm not doing any psychic readings today and tuning into to you and what that might mean. So I want to empower you to do this. I want you to ask yourself the question, where am I right now in my love life? Yeah, hi Ellen. Where am I right now in my love life? How do I want to improve that? How do I want that to grow? That's the question. Yay! Thanks, Dave. Yeah, awesome shirt. I've got a wardrobe full of awesome shirts. So if you have any questions around, personal appearance, because a lot of people struggle to be seen. I don't. This is not something I have to deal with. I'm actually quite comfortable socially, and I'm quite comfortable being seen. Generally, there's a few little triggers in there sometimes, but generally I'm okay. And some people don't. And it's a question of, what's stopping us being seen? What is stopping us being seen? Why aren't we stepping out in the world and sharing our beautiful self with the world? It's a big tough one, because so many people have got gifts to share in the world, and the fear of sharing them, the fear of being seen, the fear of stepping up and standing up, it's absolutely huge. And when I work with people in the life mastery work, a lot of it's about how to get that confidence in, how to move forward, how to step up in the world, how to go into that next level of our growth. How do we do that? Yeah, Karen, I love my reclusive life. Sometimes it's great to be a recluse, as long as it's serving you. As long as it's serving you. So I say to people, it's great to be in a certain place as long as it's serving. If it doesn't serve you, if there's some fear or doubt in there, that it's not serving. So as long as you're, 80%, 90%, 100% sure that that's the way to serve you, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and all those other aspects, that's wonderful. If not, then it might be good to question yourself around it. I'm going to take time tonight to ask myself that question, where am I right now, in relation to a few areas. Yeah, great one. And Tracy and everybody else listening in, if you go to my website, adrianhanks.com, and go to the shop, you can download a free copy of the journal that's got all of those 10 aspects in there. And you can ask yourself, where am I right now? And you can write a little bit in each one and give yourself a percentage. So at the end of the day, you can get an average score of where you are during the day in your life. And if you work for this long term, it'll shift things for you. It'll move things for you. So it's a really good resource. You can order the pre-made copies and I can post it out to you and you pay for it. But if you want a free one, put it onto a thumb drive and take it to a printer and get it printed. Get it all printed up for 10, 15 bucks. And it's a really fantastic resource that you can be using, I'd suggest, in the evening once your day has been completed. Helen Thompson, is it confidence? A lot of it is confidence, but it's a little bit more than that, because a lot of people do confidence building, Helen, and people go and do confidence workshops. But for me, it comes deeper than that. It's about self-love. Do I love myself enough to put myself out in the world? Do I love myself enough to share myself, to share my wisdom, to share my gifts? So a lot of it, us get wounded and we don't have the self-love. So it is confidence on some level, but the deeper level, it's usually around self-love, self-care. Yeah, but certainly self-confidence comes under that umbrella of the self-love. So it's a big one. But yeah, self-confidence is a big one for a lot of people because they feel fearful of doing something. They've been wounded in some way perhaps, or have some story about when I stood up previously at some point, I was admonished for that and I was put down for that. The tall poppy syndrome. If we try to step up, people try to chop us down. But the worst culprit of that is chopping people down as ourselves often. You know, we're our own tall poppy chopper. So, hey, Karen, no, I'm actually not a Sagittarius. I'm not. But anybody out there who is an expert in astrology, maybe you'd like to have a little bit of a tap in to find out what star sign I am, and even maybe what even moon sign I am. And let's give that a couple of minutes, and then I will divulge what star sign I am, and I'll give you my moon sign as well, because I love playing around in that space as well. So yeah, and yeah, Diane, and to trust in self. Yeah, look, it's sometimes trusting about the sharing of the wisdom, trusting that when I express myself and speak, it's going to be heard, it's going to be accepted, it's going to be received. So there's a lot of trust in that, a lot of trust. Yeah, lots of little smileys. I love the little emojis coming up. So any other questions in there for anybody about the life mastery? Where am I right now? Is there any questions that you have to help support you to, get back on track or to stay on track? Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in relationship, sexually, intimately, socially, financially. What area of your life right now would you like a little bit of support in that we can share today? There you go. Nathan's having a bit of a dig. Scorpio moon. No. Yeah, not a. Yeah, I say so. Not a water sign. My moon is not a water sign. There's a one little tip for you. And nor is my sun sign. Nor is my sun sign. So no water in my two mains. In my main sun or my moon. So okay, I'm just going to read this. Karen, love this. I'm going into my first art show. Really putting myself out there. I've always drawn and painted, but felt it was time to do a competition. Not a brownie. Yeah, the excitement is something that can really get us going, isn't it? When we have the excitement about something that we're going to do, is oh, there we go. Karen Sturman, Chinese horoscopes, and are you in Aries? Well, Karen, you're pretty good. Good little guess there. My moon is Aries. I have my moon in Aries. So yes, I do have a bit of that Aries fire in me, from my moon aspect. So more from the feminine. So I'm Scorpio moon with Cancer Sun. Yep. Thanks, Nathan. So any questions in there? I want to see if we can get some questions flowing and get some Q&A happening on here. Hey, thank you, Karen. So yep. Watching you today helped me boost my confidence. Sometimes just tuning in and watching somebody or being, in the presence of somebody can help to boost that confidence, can't it? What is Adrian doing that I can draw on to help me boost my own confidence? Because yes, I come across, pretty confident, years of practice, a little bit of a natural in there as well. I sort of have a natural leadership quality in me that I've been honing and working with. And when it gets recognized, it boosts the confidence. And just to share a little story with you, I shared previously when I came on, if you may have been on, but I shared I'm part of a company called Skyway, been involved for about a year. And to help boost my own confidence in terms of my leadership, I've just been chosen from a group of global partners for the company. And I'm one of 200 people globally, and there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications. My application was accepted. And 1 week today, next Thursday, I fly to Belarus in Europe, to Minsk, and I'm doing a 3-day training with the CEO of the company with 200 people from around the world. And the CEO is actually paying for us. So it's a all expenses paid trip to Belarus for 3 days training with the CEO. And when I get a sense of that recognition of my leadership, it's been seen, it's been noticed, it's been acknowledged, it really helps boost my own confidence. It helps me to get to that next level. I'm going to that next level of being a global leader for this company, to take myself and to be on stage and to be sharing and to be presenting all around the world. I do it a fair bit anyway. I do a lot in Australia. I love being on the stage. I love being in front of cameras. It's part of what I love doing. But to have that acknowledgement just helps me and supports me to go to the next level. So absolutely right. So when you tune in and watch, me, hopefully some of that will inspire you to step up to whatever it is you need to step up to. So it's another question, where am I right now in terms of my self-confidence? What do I need to do to improve it? Yep. Well, I'm flat out. I'm a Scorpio. Yeah, and each and every star sign, each and every horoscope has its positives and its challenges for all of us, doesn't it? It absolutely certainly does. So it's congratulations. Well, your confidence gave me. Yeah, thank you, Karen. And I really hope it does. I hope it's planted a seed for you, so you're really clear on what's next for you. And just talking about what's next, I just want to touch on one thing. No, not a rooster in terms of the Chinese horoscopes. In terms of building that confidence, it's about getting clear on what we want out of life. What do we want to get clear on? Where am I setting my sat nav? Who is my future potential self? I do a lot with people, and I talk about the future potential self. And I talk about, if you had a vision of that future potential self, and you named him or her, and did a painting and a drawing and named how they walk, how they talk, how they dress, where they live, what they do, what's their vocation, what's their job. It gives you an image of who you want to become. So I like to play around with imagination and get clear and create that vision. Creating that vision. Yeah. One thing I love to do, and I'll hold it up in a bit of a distance so you can see it. I love to create my vision board. I'm just doing one with my mastermind group at the moment. And it's a several week process on bringing the vision board together. It's a very specific process I've developed. It's not a case of just sticking pictures on a board. It's a process over several weeks to deepen the process. And it's something I've developed over the last few years. Very, very powerful process. And then it gives me clarity on where I'm going. It gives me confidence in where I'm going. So Karen, well, I'm not a good psychic. So Karen, the question is, do you want to be a good psychic? Do you want to get into being a psychic? Do you want to make a living? Do you want a vocation in being psychic? Or was that just a statement? So it might be a question to ask yourself, where am I right now? Because we're all psychic. We're all psychic. Some people just give themselves more freedom and more permission to tune into their psychic abilities. Yep, they just have the confidence to go for it. Because we're all psychic. We all have psychic moments. And some people just choose to train in it and be in it and open up to it and trust it. And they have a sense of self about it. So we all have it. We all have it. Yeah. So the question is, do you want to become more of a psychic? Do you want to bring it into your life some more? If so, what do you need to do that? What are the steps? Do you need some coaching? Do you need some training? Do you need some inspiration? Do you need to go and work with a psychic to see how they do it? So all good questions. So I'm aware of the time. So if you have a question around life mastery, then please do ask the question. I'll see what I can do to answer it. We've had some really great comments here today, and it's really good to have the conversation flowing. Okay, so yes, I love the idea, but lack the confidence. So Karen, the confidence often is the fear. And it could be the fear of, what if I say something to somebody from a psychic perspective and I'm wrong, or they don't get it, or they're not ready to hear it. So that can be one stumbling block. The other might be just a case of trusting what you're actually bringing through. And I want to come back to what I reiterated before. Know what you're bringing through. Get clear, have a clear boundary. Because if you just open yourself up to spirit, from my perspective, that's dangerous. Because it's like opening your front door and letting anybody or anything in. So it's about discernment. Absolute clear discernment. Who are the spirits or the beings I'm choosing to work with? And how am I filtering that? Am I trained in filtering that? Because there's a lot of people that are not trained in filtering that. They don't know what's coming in. Spiritual hygiene. Is it important for psychic work? Absolutely, Nathan. Absolutely. Look, psychic work is really powerful. But the person bringing it through, where are they at in their life? Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. If you sit with them and you tune into them, are they living that principle? Are they the connection you want to make? Do you trust them? Do you like what you see and feel and hear? For me, that's the litmus test. Absolute litmus test. You know, the hygiene. How are they looking after themselves? What is the spirit coming through? All very clear questions. Spiritual hygiene, you know, the cleanliness of the spirit. Is it a clean channel coming through? Or what's coming through? Absolutely. My fear is getting the information wrong. It's happening to me many times. Yeah, absolutely. Getting the information wrong. And that's why the training is so important, Helen. Get the training. Find a teacher in that space. Make sure you're clear about it. Because there's a lot of people out there doing a great job of psychic work, and there's a lot of people out there doing not such a good job. Not such a good job. Some people are just, you know, for me, like really generic, and they're not really sharing much. If I go and see a psychic, if I want to tune in to find out what's happening, I want it specific for me. I want the clarity of what's coming through for me. I don't want the generic. It doesn't work for me. I want to go to that deeper space. So the person I'm working with has to totally trust that what's coming through is, you know, the truth for us. And that takes a lot of holding energy. Yeah, I travel to Africa a bit, I say. And if anybody wants to come to Africa, by the way, in August for 21 days, you know, contact me and let's have a conversation and see if you want to come to Africa. But I often get to see the Sangomas, the medicine people in Africa, if I get a chance to do so. And I had a reading there 2 years ago. I went into the mud hut in Namibia. Had a translator with me because the Sangoma doesn't speak English. You know, she's Namibian and she's a beautiful shaman. And in the Rondavel, in the mud hut, in the middle of this little village, in the middle of Whoop Whoop, out there, and I'm having a reading. And she's really clear about what's coming through. My doubt was whether the translation was clear. And it's taken about 2 years now to understand what she meant in her message, because the translation that was given to me wasn't translated from the Namibia or the Namib into English. And although I have it now, it's taken a long time to get it. So for me now, it's about getting a real clear translator next time so I get the clear understanding. And she was really clear about the message for me. And it's just come to light in the last few months about what that message was for me. So yeah, I trust her implicitly, but then it's about trusting the translation, whether spiritual translation or human translation. So yeah, I love the idea of the altar. Yeah, we spoke about that previously, about getting an altar for loved ones and passing over, and getting clear about using that altar almost as a portal to do the connection with the person that's passing over. So any more questions for anybody on this Where Am I Right Now Life Mastery show? I love this show. It's great to be here every week. So next week is going to be an interesting one because I will be in Sydney Airport. I arrive there about 8 o'clock in the morning and I don't fly out till 3. And I'm doing my show at midday, so I'll have to go and find a quiet spot somewhere and tune in and check in with you all and do my live show from Sydney Airport. So that'll be quite interesting. And then I fly to Belarus for this specialised training I'm doing. So I'm just checking. We've got about 5 minutes left on this show. So if there's any comments or questions on there, this is the time to do them. Don't leave it to the last 20 seconds. So you've got a couple of minutes up your sleeve now to be answering some questions. Okay, so just while I'm waiting, I'm just going to tune in and check in and just give you that website again. And it's www.adrianhanks.com. Go to the shop. There's some resources in there. There's videos in there. You can go to the media page and watch some videos. There's a great one in there, actually. We spoke about healthy boundaries. And there's a great video on there I did about bullying. Because one of the things about healthy boundaries is when you have a healthy boundary, you can't get bullied. Like I don't do bullies. And I've got a great video on there in the media section of my adrianhanks.com website where you can watch me talking and I tell a story, a couple of stories about overcoming and not getting involved with bullying. So that's a great way to check out your healthy boundary is, do I get bullied? Do people push me around? And it just doesn't have me. I look bullies in the eyes and I just don't buy into their bullying. So, and it's a great skill to have. It's a great resource to have. Karen, yes, last bit of my essay. I'm unsure of what to improve on myself. So ask yourself the question, Karen, and get the journal. I would suggest download it and then ask yourself those 10 aspects and ascertain where you were all day long in those 10 aspects. Give yourself the percentage of where you're at, and then you'll get a sense of where you need to develop a little bit more. Yep. Where do you need to develop a little bit more? Yep. Hey, Karen, I'm You're the Rabbit too, so just a bit of divulgence on that. And just to let everybody know, I'm a Virgo. So yeah, I'm a Virgo. September born, so Virgo with Aries moon, and I'm also a Chinese rabbit, so there's a little bit of a share. Yeah, would love to come to Africa, may not be the right time in my life though. Okay, so the question is, Nathan, if it's not in your right time in your life right now, what is? That's all I say to people. If now isn't your time, then get clear on when that time's going to be. Put it in your diary, put it on your vision board, put it on your wish list, put it on your bucket list. Because if we want to do things, if we don't write it down, if we don't get clear on the wish list, if we don't get the bucket list, generally it doesn't happen. So get the vision board happening. Write down your visions. Where do you want to go? When do you want to go? And how are you going to go? I wrote down, I want to go to Belarus. I want to be one of those 200 people. I really want to. I focused on it, I meditated on it. I wrote it down, I got clear on it, and then I got the phone call or the message, Adrian, you're going to Belarus. So I focused on it. I sort of, made it happen in my mind too. I'm sure there's other forces at play too, but I held the vision for it because it was such an important thing I needed to do for me. So get clear. So if you want to go to Africa, make it happen. Put it on your vision board, create it, put it in your diary, say I'm going. Now I've got to collect the money, got to get my passport, I'm going to book in with Adrian, going to have a conversation with Adrian. First step, if you want to do something, get clear on what you want to do, and it usually means booking in for something, making a decision to have a conversation with somebody. If I want to go to a workshop, if I want to go and do something, it's usually a conversation with somebody about arriving and being there. So have that conversation, get clear on the vision of where you want to go, what you want to do, and then the universe actually conspires to help us to get there because we've put out the intention. I don't know how many of you read Esther and Jerry Hicks, ask and you shall receive, just ask and receive. So when we put it out to the universe, it's amazing what comes back. So look, I'm coming to the end of the show. This hour goes so quickly. It's a powerful hour. I love it. I love being here. I love sharing. I hope you get something from it too. I hope there's been some inspiration, some understanding, some insights, some questions been from today. And I really look forward to being with you next week and every week on this show. And please, the best thing to do is share it with your friends. Let's get this community built. Let's all move forward together. And if I can support you in any way, then please contact me, especially book in for your 30-minute free consultation with me by going to my website, adrianhanks.com. So see you all very, very soon and catch you up next week. See you.